Welcome into today's episode. Our guest today is Brad Schmidt. He is the Director of Alumni Engagement here at Bethel. He is also a Bethel grad in 1988. He is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, also co-owner of Chaotic Jiu-Jitsu in Newton, Kansas, and a boxing inspector for the State of Kansas Athletic Commission. He has a wealth of knowledge in the world of combat sports and beyond. So with that, let's jump right on in. All right.
What's up, guys?
Howdy.
Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm doing great.
That is awesome.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. The first thing that we wanted to talk with you about is your gym here in town, Chaotic Jiu-Jitsu. Just kind of walk us through how you started that, and then where you've had it to start, and then where it is now. So.
Yeah. So, we can start with the beginning of the gym. Who's my current business partner now, Chris Snyder, we had been driving back and forth to Wichita to train for, maybe 11 years, and 4 or 5 times a week. And another friend of ours offered his dad's Taekwondo school as a place where we could come in and train once in a while. So we took that opportunity. And then he actually rented his own space and wanted to get a little gym started. And since Chris and I sort of had the wealth of the knowledge, we ended up sort of teaching a lot of the classes. And so that went on for a couple of years. And then here just 3 years ago, we decided to buy the business from him, and we rebranded it as Chaotic Jiu-Jitsu. Just this past March 1, we turned over 3 years there, 3-year anniversary. So yeah, that's us. We're at 212 North Main, right across from the Bread Basket, which sounds nicer than right across from the funeral home. Yeah. But it's in that neighborhood there, right next to Custom Cuts Garage. I'm dropping names on all of the businesses around there. They should give me a kickback for that. But no, that's where we're at. And www.chaoticjujitsu.com has our schedule and all the details on there. We got something going on 7 days a week. Oh, wow. And everyone should come train. Yeah. Everyone should do jiu-jitsu. The world would be a better place if everyone did jiu-jitsu.
I know Braden's done a little jiu-jitsu. I don't know why. Like, it sounds really fun to do. I never grew up like my parents, like, not very athletic people, so they're like went into sports and things like that. But I think I definitely, like, as a kid would have like enjoyed doing that, and probably still would have enjoyed doing that kind of stuff.
I'm the most unathletic person you'll ever find. I'm not an athlete at all. And it has less to do with athleticism than it does with just a good attitude and determination, and it's just a great environment. It's one of the few places I've found where everyone around you every day wants to help you get better. Mm-hmm. That's the purpose of the whole thing. And that goes all the way. It's like anything. There are levels to it. So there are some gyms that are really competition focused, and everything is around winning medals and getting to high-level competitions, and that's great. That's not us. We like to do, for the guys that we train that want to compete, we do go to some local competitions and tournaments. Mm-hmm. But we have a lot of people that are just in there because it keeps them in shape, provides mental clarity. It's sort of their support group.
Yeah. Could you explain for like some of the viewers that, like, when they hear the word Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they think of just like beating people up and like just brawling. Like, what is like the core of the sport? Like, what is Jiu-Jitsu all about? Yeah.
So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a sport, a lifestyle, a hobby. It's different things for different people, but it's a grappling art. So mm-hmm. it is full contact with another human being, and it focuses on leverage, joint locks, chokes, using the ground to negate your opponent's strength, and just using your technique and proper application of timing and technique to to control the other person. Yeah.
I see you have your shirt on here, Chaotic. How did you come up with the name as well as your logo? I'd be curious to know that.
The name, we had been batting around some names and we were going to take it over. And one of us thought, or my business partner, Snyder, thought Chaos JiuJitsu. And there was already Chaos, what is it?
Apparel.
Chaos Apparel.
Yeah, here in town.
And I was like, man, there's already this thing. How about we change it up a little bit and we just call it Chaotic JiuJitsu? Yeah. And so that was sort of where that came from. The logo is actually from a really cool tattoo that someone has.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I
So
like that.
yeah, we just kind of put the two together and yeah.
And that was that.
Threw the little anarchy symbol in there for our distrust of structured authority, and away we go. Yeah.
So how did you originally get into jiu-jitsu before I guess originally before having your own place? Did you do this as a kid, or just tell us that story?
Yeah, no, I started actually, if I rewind a little bit before that, in probably maybe 92, 93, I started training in stand-up arts in karate, and did that for, I don't know, 6 months. And it didn't stick. It just didn't. I didn't get it. I didn't enjoy it. It was hard to get to training. And reflecting on it, I can see now that my mindset was not right. I was at a place in my life where I really wasn't looking for self-improvement. I was just motivated by the wrong things. So, excuse me. So I walked away from that, and then in 95, came back, circled back around, got in contact with the same instructor, and started training in karate again. Ended up getting my black belt in Shornru karate, and taught for quite a few years. Thought I was a pretty tough guy. I could punch the air and break boards and yell real loud and all that stuff. And so just kind of did that for a number of years, and one day was driving home from work. I worked somewhere else. I didn't work at Bethel then, and drove past one of the Taekwondo schools that was on the north end of town, and I saw a banner for jiu-jitsu or mixed martial arts or something like that. So I decided I was going to swing in. Well, actually, I drove by for about a month and a half, and was always just kind of curious. Yeah. But it was something new and different, and it was something I knew that would be hard, and so I avoided it, which is really the wrong thing to do. And I remember one day I drove by, and I got about a half block down, and I thought, man, dude, are you just going to be a wimp all your life, or are you going to face this? Yeah. And so I turned around, went back, walked in, and there were probably half a dozen pairs of dudes on the ground just strangling each other. And I thought, I've got to do this. I've got to try.
That looks like fun.
I've got to do this. And so I waited until their class was over, talked with the guy that was training them, that was running the show. He thought I was an undercover detective or a lawyer that was coming to sue them, because that was back when I wore slacks and a tie and a long sleeve shirt, awesome. Had the short hair. I kind of looked, I guess, like
played
an authority figure. And talked with him and went back the next class. And that was, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago, something like that. Awesome. And trained with him for a while. He ended up closing down after a couple years. And then I got, in the meantime, my now business partner, Snyder, he came in, started training there. And then he went off and started training in Wichita. And he started dragging me along. And then the thing here in Newton shut down, and that's when we started training in Wichita at a place called Fox Fitness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it like, you needed to step up to train, or was it like you went to Wichita because the place closed down?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. It was, the place here in Newton, we trained what they call no-gi, which is without the uniform. And so it's a little more wrestling / mixed martial arts oriented form of jiu-jitsu. But what was going on in Wichita was in the gi, in the kimono, and where you get to utilize the lapel and the sleeves and things like that to strangle your opponents. And that really, especially being an older grappler, I was in my mid 40s, early 40s, maybe 42, 43 when I started. So being able to use those grips really helped me slow the game down. Versus younger, more athletic, faster, quicker, stronger opponents.
You talked about starting your journey. You weren't in the right place. You weren't seeking self-improvement. I think a lot of people think about, martial arts, and they think about, beating up other people. Can you talk about like that aspect of like, self-improvement? You talked about, the, community aspect. Like, what are the aspects of this that, maybe the average person wouldn't really think about when they hear martial arts?
Yeah, it's really, and it's one of those things that it covers all spans of life. Like, jiu-jitsu is really great for kids. Get your kids in jiu-jitsu. The closest thing I can come to it is wrestling. And part of it is because they're hard. They're really difficult. They are physically demanding. They require effort. But jiu-jitsu is something that a kid can take and still be doing when they're 70, 80 years old. It's a lifespan thing. Where eventually wrestling, unless you go on and wrestle in college or things like that, you sort of time out of wrestling. But jiu-jitsu is kind of a lifespan sport. So for kids, they learn so much about just being a good training partner. They learn about, listening. They know about following instructions, all of these things. They also know how to be, it's amazing. I see kids that are 10 years old that are really good at jiu-jitsu. And a new kid comes in, and I see these 10-year-old kids show understanding and take that new kid under their wing and sort of help them learn the techniques. And they're 10.
Yeah.
And I don't say anything. They just remember what it was like when they started. And so, those are some of the things that are really great about it. For, of course, for adults, it's a very similar thing. It's super strong people are humbled and realize that they are not as strong as they thought they were. People that maybe don't have a lot of physical gifts realize that they are stronger than they ever thought they could be. So, self-esteem, both for kids and adults, is a huge part of it. Then there's just all of the physical fitness aspects of it that are really big. I just the other day, I watched some of our guys walk into the gym, and I thought about what they looked like, a year and a half ago when they walked in, and now they're eating better, they're taking better care of their bodies. And not only that, but mentally, they just carry themselves differently. They carry themselves with confidence, and these are adults. You see middle-aged guys come in that have sort of feel like they've lost their edge with their life. And they come in and they start training, and they realize that they've still got life in them. And it just makes makes every part of your life better.
So it is like a more like a lifestyle change too.
Yeah, absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, you'd have to if you're gonna be training. Do most people do every day? Like, how is?
You know, I was just having this conversation with my partner, my business partner earlier today. We were, you know, when we trained, when we were going super hard, we were training, you know, 4 or 5 times a week. We were working out, we were training, and we were just talking about how, you know, we're in the gym every day because we own the business. So
Right.
we go in and we're there every day. But if we don't see some of the people every day, we're kind of like, well, why aren't they here today?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, when you think about it, they're training 3, 4, 5 days a week. It's just that we're there, and when we don't see them, we're like, well, where are they at?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say a good target that I like for people to shoot for is 3 or 4 times a week. You know, the way you get better at jiu-jitsu is by doing more jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, Braden, you know that. You know that. It's just the way it is.
Gotta train.
Yeah, you got to train.
You had mentioned earlier that one of the places in Wichita was like a more competitive thing. What are you guys trying to sell? Is it more like a casual, like, come here to learn, or is it just kind of like a variety? Like, how would you explain your gym?
Yeah, we want our gym to be about community. We want our gym to be a place where anyone can walk in and start training and feel like they're respected, feel like they're wanted there, feel like they're valued, regardless of their age. You know, we have men that train there, women that train there. We just actually last night we awarded our first female blue belt. We promoted our first female blue belt. So we have young people, we have old people, single, we have kids, all walks of life. Come train. And so we want to be about community. We want a place where people can feel supported. You know, we've got a couple veterans that train with us, and that brings with it a whole nother level of things when people come back and start to work themselves back into the non-military society, and we want them to feel supported there. So I would say we want our gym to be about community. Now, within that, if somebody wants to take it to a competition level, we'll
Right.
train them up for competition. We've had a couple of our students that have wanted to try some MMA, so we've trained them up for that. It's just kind of wherever you want to go, we'll do our best to get you there.
That's awesome.
When Braden had told you that you were going to be one of our next guests, the first question that popped into my mind was he mentioned that you have a black belt. I was curious, like, everyone knows like a black belt's like the best thing you get. Like, what? I have no idea like the steps it takes to get there, or any of the belts for that matter. Could you kind of just go through like each stage and like what it kind
Yeah.
of takes to achieve those?
Yeah. So in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's unique from a lot of martial arts, and especially the way our association runs things. It's between associations, it's even different. And within the Jiu-Jitsu community right now, there's a lot of discussion of, you know, what does it really mean to be a black belt, and how do you get that, and should there be more unified standards because, you know, this association does it this way and this one does it this way. But I'll just speak to what my experience was, what my path was, and what we do at our school. You start at white belt.
Yeah.
And this is different for kids than it is for adults. For kids, we started out a little more attendance-based. But for adults, you have to show up. You start as a white belt, and you train. And for each student, it's different. We give stripes on the belt. So, you know, you get your 4 stripes on your white belt, and that can take anywhere from, a year to 5 years, depending upon how often you train, how diligent you are in that. If you know BJ Penn, MMA UFC champ BJ Penn, I think he got his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in like 3.5 years or something like that.
wow.
But he's just a sick athlete. He's just off the charts. So that white belt that can be, I don't know, anywhere from 8 months to 3 years or whatever. White belt is just about surviving. You are just surviving. You are getting choked out on the regular. It is all about tapping. It is about surviving and just learning some basics. And then you get your blue belt. Blue belt is where we lose a lot of students, oddly enough. People like to quit at blue belt.
Why is that, do you think?
We call it the blue belt blues. Because you're a blue belt, you've leveled up, but still you've got a lot of white belts coming in that are rolling you up.
Okay, so you think it's more of just like, you're like, oh, I'm not progressing how I should.
I think a lot of it at blue belt is people's ego catches up with them, and they just can't hack it. So blue belt is, you just have to keep learning. To me, blue belt is about persistence. Because a brown belt, a purple belt, or a brown belt, a lot of times they'll show some mercy on a white belt. There is zero mercy for a blue belt. You are basically a punching bag. You are going to get rolled up. But if you persist at that, then you reach your purple belt stage. And by purple belt, you've kind of developed your game. You know what techniques work for you. You know your style. You know how you like to roll. That's where, for a lot of times, it gets super competitive with guys, and it's just a fun level. And then of course you get stripes on your purple belt. When you get to be a brown belt, it's more about just fine tuning and mastering what you already know. And then also there's a large teaching component that goes on at brown belt. You start to have to learn not only how to do it, but how to explain it to other people. For guys like, I loved being a brown belt, and part of it was because of my age. Because I could just be the old grumpy guy sitting in the corner telling people they were doing it wrong. I loved being a grumpy old brown belt. That was like, I was so happy there. But here a couple years ago, my coach said, "You're a black belt. Come here, let's do this." And I've been promoted at times where I thought, I'm really ready for this, and I've been promoted at times where I thought, nah, that's not me. Nowhere near ready for that step. But I trusted my coach. Yeah. I trusted my mentor, and Jake Fox Fitness. One of the things I learned through jiu-jitsu is like just how important mentorship is. Just how important mentorship is. If for no other reason, then you've got to have somebody that's going to believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. And that's what Jake always did for me, and still does. Yeah. I just talked with him Sunday.
It sounds like in order to become better, you just gotta get pummeled. Would you say, is that like you just learn in your defeat? Is that something that's true, or is it like you just have to keep practicing different holds and things like that? Yeah,
you just keep working, knowing that you will never be good. You just keep working, knowing that you will never be good. But you'd be better. You'd be better than you were yesterday. Right. Because there's really no room for ego. There's no room for saying, "Oh, I've learned all I can about this this aspect of jiu-jitsu." And yeah, it is a rough sport. It is a full contact sport. That's why we tap.
Right.
That's why we tap. And I think it's another important aspect of it is the community. You are entrusting people to do things to you that could cause severe bodily injury. And you trust that when you tap, they're going to let go. Okay? But yeah, you get bruised up. You get bruised up. I've broken ribs. I've had countless black eyes. I've broken toes. I've broken a lot of finger and fingernail injuries because of all the grabbing.
Yeah.
I think this one here I had ripped up out of the fingernail ripped up out of the nail bed. I mean, it just really some bad stuff. A lot of guys have the cauliflower ears. My ears are still pretty.
They are.
You know,
yeah, you don't have the.
so you get lucky there. But yeah, lots of bloody noses, lots of fat lips, abrasions, bruises everywhere, bruises where you didn't think you could get bruises. But it's all good.
Yeah.
You know, the human body is resilient. The human body is tough. You can take a lot. Don't believe the movies.
So, how easy or how practical would it be to, use your jiu-jitsu experience in like a real like self-defense situation?
Yeah.
Is that what it's like? Do you think that's a part of it? Like, would you advertise, hey, now you know self-defense, or is it like you're not really trying to advertise that?
Yeah, self-defense. There are a lot of self-defense benefits to jiu-jitsu. The thing I always tell people is there is nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is 100%. And if I would tell someone, oh, well, you're a blue belt or a purple belt, or you've had 3 lessons or whatever, now you can defend yourself, I would be wrong. Mm-hmm. I would really be wrong. What I can say is the more you put your body into adverse situations, the more likely you will be to respond successfly when that happens. Yeah. I always tell people, if someone attacks me, even as a black belt, man, I don't know what would happen.
Right.
I don't know. I could fall. I could hit my head. They could have a gun. They could have a knife. I'm not stopping that bullet just because I'm a black belt. I'm not stopping that bullet.
I can't split it in half.
I'm not doing that. Or maybe they're a former professional boxer or a former D1 wrestler. There's just so many variables. Yeah. But I do know that just, the average person, I have a better understanding of balance, of weight distribution, better understanding of technique, of control, that, the average person, I'd probably do okay, or at least keep the situation neutralized enough to where I could safely get away, mm-hmm. or something like that. I have no interest in beating someone up. Yeah. That is like the last thing I want to do.
At the very least, it can only help your chances of defending yourself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it is good. It's really good. Because it is so close. It's really good for. I encourage women to come and train, because when you start to see, like incidences of sexual assaults and things like that, those are things that happen in close proximity. Mm-hmm. And so knowing how to handle yourself, handle your body, and move in a way that you can maximize your chances of escape is really important. Yeah, it's really important.
I think we are coming up on the 30-minute mark, so I think we are going to stop for a little halftime break.
Yeah.
Right on.
We're back. So, you don't only do jiu-jitsu, you have other ventures. Would you like to explain that to us? Yeah,
I'm what's called a boxing inspector for the State of Kansas Athletic Commission, which there's a lot to it, but more or less I keep fighters corralled backstage before their fights. Any sanctioned fight in the state of Kansas, as in most states, the sanctioning body is the Athletic Commission, and I work for them. weekends and basically ensure fighter safety before and after they get in the ring.
Nice.
Oversee the wrapping of their hands, the taping of their hands, make sure that there's no foreign object in the glove or in the wrap. Make sure that fingernails are trimmed and toenails are trimmed so nobody gets cut up with that. Remind people to take off jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Just different stuff like that. Remind them to wear their mouthpiece,
And that's something that, like, most people think of, but that sounds really important, just making sure things go smoothly.
Yeah. Yep. Make sure there's no, like no energy drinks backstage.
Yeah.
We don't need anybody, chugging 3 monsters before a fight and then, having a coronary in the ring. And, so it's just a lot of reminding people of things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wear your shoes when you're not in the ring, stuff like that. Yeah.
I'm sure. Do you have like any like crazy instances of like someone trying to cheat or just kind of like things along those lines where you think like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. No. There's been some more of the things have just been of not understanding necessarily how the Kansas Commission sanctions things versus maybe if a fighter comes from a different state to fight in Kansas, might have to give little reminders about different things. Worked a show where there was a foreign fighter that was coming in, and they weren't putting any gauze down as the base for their wrap. They were just going tape over their knuckles, and so had to remind some things like that no, this is what we expect. Mm-hmm. No, there a lot of it is just really basic stuff like no, you can't have pockets on your shorts, on your fight shorts, or you need to keep your drawstring tucked in, different things like that. So really no instances of cheating or anything like that.
Just like kind of forgetful things.
Yeah, just kind of different traditions, different ways of doing things at different gyms, and you try to keep everything as consistent as possible for all fighters so that everyone is sort of on equal footing. Yeah. Most of the, I run into some stuff that like in the state of Kansas, they do what they call smoker fights. Mm-hmm. So usually this is a fighter's very first fight. They're not sanctioned fights. There's no clear winner. Everybody wins. But these are like really raw, green, first-time fighters. So if we are there, just making sure that everything is done the way it should be. You do run into some interesting things just because these are young fighters that have no idea what's going to happen. I've seen fighters on the way to the ring that have swapped out groin protection with another fighter that was getting ready to come out of the because they forgot. I saw at a smoker show one time where a guy was on the way to the ring and I was like, "Do you have your mouthpiece?" And he was like, "No, I don't know where my mouthpiece is." And he turned to his buddy who was behind him, who was also a fighter, and his buddy took his mouthpiece out of his mouth, shoved it in his buddy's mouth, and he went in and had his fight. So, yeah, you see some things like that make you just sort of stand back and,
that's pretty funny.
I guess if you guys want to share a mouthpiece, that's cool. That's not my deal, but yeah.
With those, I'm not like super into, I watch MMA and things like that. Are these like held mainly in like Kansas City? You had mentioned Topeka.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything like in Wichita. I don't know what the fighting scene is.
Yeah. There's, a couple of the different promotions. Again, if they hear this, I hope they give me some, little kickback. I'm plugging their shows a little bit. But up in Kansas City, there's Synergy, a promotion called Synergy, does a really great job. Great high level fights. They're in Kansas City in Memorial Hall.
Okay.
Great historic location. I think you went up there with me one time for that.
That's a cool place.
Yeah, it really is a cool place. So, they also host Invicta, which is an all-women's MMA promotion. Again, really great fights, great fighters from all over the world come in for that. There is Wichita, of course, at Park City Arena, EFC, which is former Bellator champion David Rickles is from Derby, and that's his promotion. Okay. So he does those fights there. There's shows out in Liberal. There's, what else is there? Bunch of local smoker fights. They're becoming more popular. There's coming up here in May at Derby at a place called the Sandbox. There's going to be amateur fights there. Amateur fights in Hutch. I worked a show there a couple weekends ago for Elite Martial Arts Center there in Hutch. They promote fights there. Topeka for amateur shows as well as boxing. I've worked a couple straight boxing shows in Wichita, in Topeka. Salina, yeah.
Yeah, just all over.
So, yeah.
Okay. I had no idea that all of that's going on.
Yeah.
So I think it's time that we want to transition over to Bethel College and what you are doing here. You are the director of alumni engagement.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, good question. Some days I ask myself the same thing. Kind of the main thing, one of the main things is Fall Fest comes out of my office.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the big major thing that we do every year is Fall Fest. In fact, I've already started planning this next Fall Fest.
I'm sure a lot of work goes into that.
Yeah. So that's kind of take a few months off and then get right back into it. So that's a major part of what I do. Beyond that, other regional and local events, I do a lot of planning for that. We're getting ready to go into I'm planning our summer events, which a few years ago we started doing what we call Thresher Thursdays, which is the fourth Thursday of June, July, and August. And we've got those planning for those underway. We're going to kick off the fourth Thursday in June with our annual alumni picnic in Kidron Park. That usually brings in about 100 people, 100 alumni. So I make burgers and dogs for 100 people. That's a lot of grilling.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. Then the fourth Thursday in July, we're going to be at the arcade in Wichita for an alumni event there. We buy a package and rent a room and get pizza. And if you haven't been to the arcade, you need to go. It's just a ton of great vintage video games. It's a lot of fun. So I want everybody to come out for that.
We'll be alumni.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is kind of crazy to think
so,
about.
Speaking of that, make sure you keep your address up to date.
There we go.
Because if we can't find you, we can't invite you. Okay?
True.
Yeah. So.
In almost a month now, it will be alumni.
Yeah, you will be. Yeah. Actually, technically, you already are. You're just not graduates, but you are alumni.
There we go.
So, yeah.
That felt hard.
So that's the July event, and then in August we're going to go to Wind Surge Baseball. We'll do Bethel Night at Wind Surge Baseball. So that's going on this summer. We started planning those events. We've also started planning a new event in its third year. This year is our summer concert, Bethel College Summer Concert. The past 2 years we've had Pretend Friend out. There are some high-level bluegrass pickers this year. It's a little too soon. I'm working on something even bigger. I can't say.
Classified.
I can't. It's big enough that they won't let me announce it until I've signed the contract and sent them a check. So, trust me.
Right, we'll be waiting for the announcement.
Yeah. If you're...
Stay tuned.
if you love music and you're a Mennonite, you're going to love this.
Sweet.
So, so that's in the works right now. What else? Phonathon is a big one for the alumni office. We're in charge of Phonathon. So every February, we run Phonathon. Speaking of events, there's just a lot of great, we try to get out and visit with people as much as we can. We're going to work later on this summer an event up in the Kansas City area. Our office goes around. I was in Los Angeles, San Diego, Los Angeles area in late January. Bethel is always represented at the Reedley, California banquet. The president always goes out there. So,
Nice.
a lot of great Thresher alumni to visit all the time. Plus just seeing folks around here. We do a ton of visits with people around here and run into people everywhere.
Yeah.
Bethel has like a very strong sense of community. With working with alumni, what do you think keeps people still connected to campus and wanting to know like what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, I think you said it is the sense of community. It is, the things that we do. Actually, I met with Ben Bollinger earlier today because he's your senior class rep, and we were talking about commencement and some of the activities and just all of the little subtle things that we do, like touching the threshing stone, ringing the bell, all of the traditions that we have around events like commencement, or even the walk of welcome that we do at the beginning of each year, and all of those different things. It just builds a sense of community, and people want to keep that alive. And even if they leave and their career takes them across the country, a lot of times when they retire, they end up coming back and retiring in the North Newton community or over at Kidron Bethel so that they can re-engage with the campus community.
Yeah, I think Bethel is pretty special in that aspect. It's very cool to see.
I would say I would venture to guess even half the time, like if I wear a Bethel shirt and like I go to the YMCA or something, someone's gonna mention, "Hey, I went to Bethel and yada yada yada." Like
That
like
literally
it's
happened to me today.
yeah. There's always I think there's just like a pride of like, just going to the same institution and continuing that. I think people really enjoy that kind of stuff.
Did you want to say like? Because you are a Bethel alumni yourself.
Yeah.
You want to say like some words about your time at Bethel?
Yeah.
How it impacted you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I came to Bethel. It was close. It was close to where I lived. I grew up in Gossel, just up the road here. And that's right. And so Bethel was sort of close.
Yeah.
And but I really wasn't. I didn't have a lot of direction when I came to college. I had come here as a junior high schooler for music camp.
Oh yeah.
So that was sort of what I knew about Bethel. And then growing up in a Mennonite church, we always had Bethel College Sunday and those different types of things. Always heard about stuff going on at Bethel, but really didn't. I just came here because it was close. I was not a good student. I just was not a good student. I was a lot smarter than I let myself be. But I did meet a lot of great people here. Have a lot of fun memories of the college, and then graduated, entered the workforce, and really was disengaged from the college for I don't know until I started back here 8 years ago. 7, 8 years ago. Yeah.
What was your degree that you got?
Yeah, I had a degree in history.
History.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like we had my dad on, and he had a degree in biology, and now he's a financial advisor.
Yeah.
And I would be curious. Do you use any bits of your degree in your work now?
Yes. I think in my work, sort of the natural curiosity of a historian helps in my work, especially in making the connections of people and the desire to look farther back, dig deeper. When I meet someone, sort of, okay, where do you fit in? How does who are you connected to? As well as just having a sort of a knowledge of Mennonite history helps.
Yeah.
In my work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the stuff that you might not think about at face value when you're getting a degree, especially at a liberal arts institution. That like Phil was talking about. His example was writing papers really helped him at Bethel. It's just like the stuff you don't think you're going to college for that, and it ends up really helping you in the future. I think that's really interesting, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think like things like writing and all of the stuff you get out of a liberal, critical thinking, all of those things. I got that all at Bethel. I did a couple years at graduate school at WSU.
Oh, yeah.
And I know the professors there would say, you're one of those Bethel kids. I know you know how to write.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about you not knowing how to write. And I got that all at Bethel.
That's really special.
I really think Bethel is a great place, or just any liberal arts in general. Like if you aren't sure of like what you want to do, you're just exposed to, all the required. You're like, I have to take music or things like that, and it kind of like I know like for my brother, he's a sophomore. He had taken some kind of history class, and now he's getting a history minor because it was interesting to him. So you can just kind of pick up different things along the way that you might never have imagined yourself enjoying or even getting a degree in. I think that's really
that's what happened to me. I took a psychology class freshman year. I was like, all right. Took 2 more sophomore year, and I was a business major at the time, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, all right, let's do it. And I just switched majors. So you just you don't go in thinking that it's going to happen, and things happen. You learn what you like and what you don't like, and it's very helpful. Oh.
I was with my history degree, I was going to teach, and got to the end. That was sort of a mid. I declared early a sociology degree, but they did away with that as a major my spring of my freshman year.
Yeah.
And so I had to course correct real quick. And so I had a high school teacher that was a history and social sciences teacher that was really influential, made an impact on me listening to him talk and share his story. So I decided, I'm going to go that route, and I'm going to teach and all that stuff. And then got to the end, got to graduation, didn't quite have everything I needed to do my student teaching and do that. So, and I was really done with college at that point. Yeah. So I just graduated with my history degree and went into the workforce. But, I still always was like, someday I'd like to teach and coach and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And, now here we are, however many years later, and I teach kids and I coach kids at the gym. So, sort of that interest came out of my time at Bethel, and it took me an odd path to get there, but I'm in a way teaching and coaching.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
I'm curious to know, are most of like the alumni that you deal with, are people spread out, or like are people staying in Kansas? Because I know, like, at least it seems like now there's a lot more people that aren't from Kansas. Mm-hmm. Was that a change, or has it always kind of been like that?
Yeah.
Do you have any knowledge on that?
I don't have any hard data on it, but I do know that when one thing that is unique to Kansas colleges, and I think certainly Bethel is, it's not uncommon for people to go to college somewhere, get their degree, and then they're gone. They go back home, or they go here, they go wherever the job takes them.
Right.
I think that Bethel has a pretty high degree of people that come here from somewhere else, get their education, and either meet their spouse here, who's from here, or get involved and engaged in the community and really like it and decide to stay here. So I think Bethel is unique in that we bring people in.
And that stay as well
Right.
after
a lot
their
of
time here.
A lot of people talk about the brain drain when people leave.
Yeah.
Well, we sort of have this brain gain.
Yeah.
People come and I know there are a lot of people here at Bethel, people I work with in the office that they were from somewhere else, but they came here and got their degree and met someone, and they've stayed.
Yeah, I was just talking to one of my friends. He's from Oklahoma. He came, said at first he hated Kansas, but it grew on him. He met his future wife here, and now he's staying. So It just happens.
Yep.
I think that's a lot of people. A lot of people rag on Kansas and then come to love it.
And one sunset, they're like,
Yeah.
oh. Yeah.
And I think, like I said earlier, a lot of people come back to retire here because they have those memories, and
All right. I think that does it for most of our questions
It's a good
today.
time.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
You want to plug your dojo one more time?
Yeah, man. Guys, come train. Come train. Everyone, come train.
I would be down.
Are you still doing the first lesson free? Or is that a...
Dude, I would do the first month free.
Just for you
if you get in there and train, I will give you a month free.
I might have to try it out.
But you just got to show up.
Yeah.
You got to show up. Literally, the hardest step
I think
is a
that
step
would
on
be
the
the
mat.
hardest thing for
Yep,
me.
it's
Like
the
just because I
hardest
wouldn't
thing.
want to look like a fool out there.
Yeah, but that's what's great
Leave
about
your
it.
ego at the door.
Yes.
Yeah, your ego is not
I gotta
your amigo.
break through my
Yeah.
own mind
Yeah.
and just get thrown around ragdolled out there.
It's one of the biggest things that you can do to help yourself learn is just find something that you totally suck at.
Yeah, just
and do it.
just accept that
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
know a whole lot about it. So
Yeah, because we're all terrible. I mean, yeah. No, but seriously, any Bethel student, come see me. Let's train.
there we go. You heard
Let's
it
train.
here first.
You heard it here. Yeah, 212 North Main, Chaotic Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah.
All right,
Thank you all so much for listening. My name's Eddie Goddard.
Andrew Schmidt.
You've been listening to Peace of Mind. See ya next time.
Boom.